How's it going, guys? This is Griever here, and I'm going to bring you a new type of video today because my channel has been doing okay, but honestly, with just a bunch of re-uploads and the like, it's not doing as well as I had hoped. I had hoped that a lot of my old subscribers would have come back and I'd be hitting that 100 mark within the first couple weeks. Sadly, that does not seem to be the case. I don't know what it is. Unfortunately, when you lose a channel and you didn't have a Twitter or some other way to contact your subscribers, it's very, very difficult to inform everyone, hey, come back to this channel, sort of idea. So that being said, I thought I'd jump around with some new ideas that I've been pondering around in my head for a while. And this one caught my eye. I bought this about 2 weeks ago. I bought the Dark Knight's Metal graphic novel edition. As you can tell, it's very pretty. It's like a holographic Yu-Gi-Oh! Or Pokemon card. It's so lovely. I found out about this about 2 months ago. I'll give it 2 months. It might have been shorter than that. I found out all about the Batman Who Laughs, who is here on the front cover. And then I started researching him because people were toting him, and I believed I watched a What Culture video about this character, and I went, okay, that's screwed up. That's pretty bad. So I decided when I saw this, and it's a funny story, guys. I intended to read all about Batman Who Laughs, The Red Death, The Drowned, Dawnbreaker, all the ones listed here. I intended to read all about them, and I read a lot online just about them, and I looked up comic pages, and I looked up things like that. And I'm not a huge comic nerd. I mean, I go through my stints where I decide want to go buy some old Spider-Man comics from the local store once in a while. But generally, I don't do that, and certainly I don't buy DC. I'll admit that. I'm a Marvel fanboy, though I do love my Batman. The thing is that I was in chapters, and as you guys know on this channel, I do a lot of manga reviews, so I try to buy more and more manga volumes for myself. I'm buying volume by volume, and I was picking up a couple of Shokugeki no Soma volumes, and there was this kid, and the thing about the chapter store here in Nova Scotia is when you go in, they kind of couple all that stuff together. So you have your fantasy novels on one part, but they're all in the same area. You have your fantasy novels with your Game of Thrones and Lord of the Rings and Forgotten Realms. And then you have your comic books and graphic novels. And then you have your manga. And it's all basically in the same sort of section and aisle. So when I was there looking at my manga, directly behind me was this kid, and he's taller than me and stuff, but you could tell he was a kid. And he was about 17, 16 years old, and he picked this up and he goes, Dark Knight's Metal, I gotta get it. And I spun around and I was like, Dark Knight's Metal? Isn't that thing that I heard about that's supposed to be like revolutionary in the DC universe? And he had picked this up, and I looked at it and I went, wow, that's pretty cool. And he stormed back about 2 minutes later because clearly he had asked his mother to buy it for him or something and he couldn't. So I got it. I got to pick it up, and I think there was another copy on the shelf, but either way, I grabbed this copy. And what I wanted to do with this series, now I know it's already been recording for 3 or 4 minutes now, so let's just get to the long and short of it. I wish to record and review each different evil Batman, each Dark Knight comic as a standalone. This graphic novel has encompassed all of them, the original backstories. From what I understand, the Dark Knight's Metal series was a series all about the Dark Knight's Metal, these 7 evil Batman teaming up and destroying universe by like Earth 33 and Earth 52 and all that sort of stuff. And it introduced the concept of the Dark Multiverse. Now, that is my limited understanding once again. These in this particular graphic novel is the origin story, which we got later, about each individual Dark Knight's story. So, for example, the Red Death, who's a version mixed with the Flash. We have the Drowned, which is a Batwoman from the Earth that, I forget which Earth it is, 22 or something like that, 21, which reverses the genders. There's one that was in love with Wonder Woman. There's one that mixed with Green Lantern. I really like these concepts because they've been posed fan favorite questions. I know a lot of people have posed the question, why didn't Bruce Wayne get the Green Lantern ring or a Yellow Lantern ring? That's been posed for a long time, but in this universe it does happen, and we see the consequences of that. So what I wanted to do with this is the origin story of each of them. What pushed Batman so far that he went evil in his selected multiverse Earth. So what I want to do is I want to start with the Red Death, because this is not necessarily linear. This graphic novel, it as you can tell, it just goes through each of them, sort of idea, and it goes through each of them. So I wanted to just go through the first one on the first page, which is the Red Death, which is Batman mixed with the Flash in kind of a weird way. Now, when I first read this comic, I was, I agree with Batman. I have to say it, guys. I agreed with Batman in this particular instance. Not in the fact that Flash had a point that he wasn't hurting, and that he wasn't going down a dark path. Because, of course, Batman has literally been towing the path between total supervillain and anti-hero for years and years and years. And we all know that. He's the tip of the iceberg. But he never crosses that. But the Flash, what basically ends up happening here is what we understand from this actually, it's quite a short comic when you consider it, and they try to jam-pack a lot of information. But what has happened is that something went wrong in this universe, as a lot of the Dark Multiverse does. The beginning opening of this comic introduces us to this idea that every nightmare, every bad decision, every bad thought that every single superhero or supervillain or everyone has ever had, that has to go somewhere. And in a sense, it has created its own mindset. It's reminiscent a little bit of the Persona series or the Tale series in a sense for some of the games. It's basically the anti. It's the yin to the yang. Even though there's a multiverse, there has to be the yang to that yin sort of idea, that sort of concept. And in this, it stems from everyone's bad decision or something that the bomb didn't go off. But in this universe it did. Sort of the opposite effects happen in this universe. What if everything went wrong? Kind of an Injustice, Gods Among Us sort of idea, but to a way bigger scale, a way different level. And we get a short explanation of that is basically what happens. The problem is that these are worlds entirely based on negativity. They're built on negative emotions. So the issue is that all they do is they're created, but they're created by bad emotions, and they crumble away just as fast because the world can't survive on simple bad emotions, simple wrongdoing, simple negativity. It can't exist in that way. So we start off and we see that Batman and the Flash are already going at it. And the issue here is, once again, I agree with Batman in a sense, because he has come to take the Speed Force from Flash. Because what has happened in this dark alternate reality is Damian, Tim, Dick, Jason, they've all died. He has left his Bat family behind. He does not mention Barbara, but I'm assuming that at this point she's either already, perhaps the Killing Joke thing happened and she's already the Oracle in a wheelchair. Who can say? But either way, he's basically buried all his sidekicks at this point, even his own son. And he's had enough. Gotham just takes and takes and takes, as Batman says. Now, he's fighting the Flash because clearly, in his mind, just like if we can all remember A Death in the Family for a moment, with Jason Todd, Batman wasn't fast enough. And that holds his regret for a very long time. I mean, that's part of Jason Todd's character in a sense, is that Batman didn't make it in time. And yes, that was a reader's vote sort of idea, but nonetheless, that's a staple of now the Batman mythos. He didn't make it. If he had made it in time, he might have been able to stop it from happening. Now imagine if that happens to every single Robin. eventually, the logical conclusion, once again, Batman, the world's greatest detective. What's the logic in here? I'm not fast enough. Who is fast enough? The fastest man alive. Who has the Speed Force? If I had the Speed Force, I could save everyone. And that logic is sound. The problem is, as Flash points out, it's coming from a hurting place. It comes from a dark place. He can't turn back the clock with the Speed Force. His sidekick's already dead. He's already buried 4 Robins, bare minimum from what we've understood. Nothing's going to change that. Nothing's going to make it better, and that's why Flash refuses to give it up. But here's where I agree with Batman in another sense, is that both he is right that give Batman the Speed Force, well, you mean one of the greatest superheroes in the DC universe now has a superpower. How could that actually go wrong? Well, number one, it's the dark multiverse, so of course it's going to go wrong. But the fact is, when he's fighting with the Flash, he explicitly states, he goes, I asked you for help. You rejected me. If the roles were reversed, I would have used everything in the Batcave. Every Batmobile, every Batarang, every single piece of information at my disposal to help you if you had come to me. The difference is that you're not, like the roles are reversed. And right there I was like, yeah, Flash, sorry. Your moral code is askew. Because if Barry Allen, perhaps, what if he had done it? Okay. Just for sake of argument, I'm not saying this would have happened. And maybe as not a huge comic book nerd, I don't have the full grasp of the situation. But just hear me out, guys. If Barry Allen had sat down with Bruce and Bruce said, and we'll assume this conversation did go down and he rejected him, what if he had said yes? But Barry Allen made some strict regulations or rules about it, in a sense, and just said, look, okay, I will maybe lend you the Speed Force, or I will give you the Speed Force, or something like that. However, let me coach you. Let me be a part of this so you don't go too far. Like, if there was something, like, Bruce, I know you're hurting. I agree with you. In your hands, the Speed Force potentially could be an even more helpful thing for this world. But you need to let me be your conscience. And the reason I say that is because of what happens. But also, what if he had said yes? Would it really have been so bad? Would Bruce have gone as far as he did? Because what ends up happening is, of course, Bruce does defeat the Flash in a kind of a lucrative way. He beats the Flash, ties him to the Batmobile, and drives on the cosmic treadmill, and boom! Now, out of this, Barry Allen is dead. Bruce Wayne comes out of it, and now he's got the Speed Force. So now he's considered the Red Death. The problem with this is there's no one to hold him in check. Once again, I potentially do not know where all the other Justice League are in this particular Earth. Are they all dead by this point? It's hard to say. Like, where's Superman, Wonder Woman, Green Lantern to kind of, like, prevent this or help this along? In some of these backstories we get the information of what happened to the rest of the Justice League, but in this particular one there's no information. However, this is only the backstory of the Red Death. Potentially that information was already given in other comics of the Dark Knight Metal series, and I'm just not privy to the information. So I do not know what has happened to Superman and Wonder Woman and stuff of this multiverse, or the Dark Multiverse, but that's irrelevant, because what happens is, because he has no conscience, and what has happened is almost an identity crisis. Right now, Barry Allen's conscious, unable to control the body of Bruce Wayne, but has been fused with the conscience of Bruce Wayne. We see that in kind of a warped, mind swap, like head swap sort of thing that goes on between the two. So it's very unfortunate, because Barry Allen is now trapped inside the mind of Bruce Wayne, who has now the Speed Force, and he's still Batman. So the issue is, once again, I bring up the point, is that if the conscience was agreed to with Batman, maybe things would have gone differently, because now Batman has officially gone off the deep end, and he murders not only Scarecrow, but he murders the Penguin, the Riddler, Man-Bat, and we can assume the majority of the Rogues Gallery. This is just a splash panel of blood and gore of 4 major rogues gallery villains, and he just wipes them out, no problem. The end of this world starts to come, and even though he has officially ridden Gotham of all this evil, and which we can tell Gotham's kind of on the deep end. Once again, in the dark multiverse, it's very hard to understand that the superheroes are still fighting in their version of good, but it's impossible to fight because it's the dark multiverse. It's not built to win. Good is not supposed to triumph in this multiverse, so as they try, they end up failing. So at least that's what I'm taking away from it. That inside the dark multiverse, it's a 90-10 or an 80-20. Whereas in the regular multiverse and stuff, Superman and Batman and Wonder Woman, the superheroes win the day. Good will triumph sort of idea. The decks are stacked in a sense. The chips are on their favor and everything's in their corner. But in the dark multiverse, it's the opposite. And unfortunately, superheroes crack under this pressure. Because they don't win. Actually, they lose. They lose on a daily basis, try as they might. So it's a hollow victory. Gotham has been saved according to this Bruce Wayne, the Red Death. We encounter, now, a little bit of spoiler, sort of, but once again, I'm reviewing the whole chapter. So, the Batman who laughs is now informing, at the beginning of the chapter, he told us a little bit about the dark multiverse and how it was created. He informs the Red Death all about this, like, hey, what would you say if there was a world just like this, but it thrived because of this, and this. And he explains a little bit about the dark multiverse to the Red Death. Barry Allen, still in the conscience of Bruce Wayne, says, don't listen to him, don't listen to him, this guy is evil as hell. We do not see the Batman who laughs, but this is where their connection starts. And he talks a little bit about his master, the King of Bats. And once again, not sure of the name, Baratros? Not 100% on the name there, Baratrus. I'm very bad at pronunciation, guys, so either way, this seems to be the demon overlord for this dark multiverse as it stands anyways. And then we cut over to the last little bit of the chapter, and it kind of cleans things up. We go to Earth 0 or -0, I believe it is. Either way, we see Aunt Iris and Wally West and stuff. They're talking about Barry, and they're talking about, so this is once again the real multiverse. We're in the opposite end. So it's the flip side of the same coin of the Red Death's universe. In this universe, of course, there's Barry Allen and Wally West, and they're talking about Batman, and they're talking about him in the sense that, I hope he doesn't come to Central City. I hope this doesn't happen because Batman, where is he? He could cause a threat. So clearly already in this, once again, haven't read the actual Dark Knight's Metal series, so I don't know exactly what's going on here in the sense of the overall plot. Where is this Batman and why are they actually afraid of him? We don't know, but either way, the Red Death shows up. And he, I guess, once again, the Speed Force, I had to look this up before I reviewed this because I went, what is going on here? Like, the Flash, he runs really fast. What's with all this power conduits and age and time manipulation and stuff? But apparently that can happen if you're an exceptional speedster or you're a power conduit of the Speed Force. And let's be honest here, a mixture of Barry Allen, the Flash, and Bruce Wayne. If anybody's going to unlock all the abilities of the Speed Force, it'd be a combination between those two. That's a given, alright? So, that's all fine and good, except now that Wally West and Aunt Iris are dead. So, now he's just on a murder spree. And he's come to the real multiverse, and clearly he's come for blood. So now, Barry Allen, the real Flash, shows up, and I have a problem with this. Maybe he doesn't recognize the fact, or maybe I'm reading too much into it. I'm under the impression that Aunt Iris and Wally West were aged to the point that they died. Barry Allen does not seem affected by this, and at least like you are in my city, I am superhero, red cape flowing behind me. Other than the usual superhero crap, he does not seem to recognize that Wally West and Iris are dead. On the ground. The age of 85. What? I mean, maybe he doesn't recognize that happened. Maybe he doesn't see the corpses. I don't know. Felt a little weird. Either way, Red Death wins out. He beats the living... Basically, when they go toe-to-toe, the Red Death can beat up this Barry Allen, this Flash. And just before he's about to kind of deliver the killing blow, Fate intervenes. Dr. Fate. I guess to me, I don't know enough about DC once again, but to me, I'm assuming this is the equivalent of Doctor Strange or the Beyonder or Madam Web, someone like that as equivalent to the Marvel Universe, someone who spans across the multiverse and across time to understand all that is. And I'm like, okay, and Baron's like, Dr. Fate, what? And zoom, we see the Millennium freaking key from Yu-Gi-Oh! And the Red Death is not the Red Death, sorry, the Flash, this Earth-0 or Earth-0 or Earth-0, this Flash is zapped in to the Millennium Key away from the Red Death's clutches, and this is where the Red Death is like, no matter how far you run, I'm always faster sort of idea, that cockiness. And now the Red Death has entered the true multiverse. So that's the end of the Red Death origin story. And now we kind of know how he came to be. Once again, I feel like he is the most... they're all sympathetic in a sense, but this one, I understand. I feel like his reasoning is a little weak in a sense, but also I do agree with him. And I think that if the Justice League had supported this decision in a controlled way and sat down with Batman and talked to him like, okay, Bruce, okay. We understand. In your hands, the Green Lantern ring, the Speed Force, Superman's laser vision, they would all be more useful. Now, let's sit down and talk about how we can save Gotham in a proper way. We're not saying no, but let's sit down, diffuse the situation. Now, maybe they tried. I don't know. But it feels like to me that once again, Bruce Wayne or Batman hit it on he hit the nail on the head when he said that if Flash had come to him grieving in the same way, he would have helped unquestioned. So it begs, if Flash comes and said, I gotta borrow the Bat computer, the Batmobile, and the Batwing. And by the way, I need 2 Robins and a Batgirl. Batman would have been like, yeah, okay. Clearly you gotta get shit done. But the Flash rejected him. Barry Allen rejected him. So, once again, I find this is one of the ones where I'm a little conflicted. Where I think that if this had happened in the real multiverse, I believe that this wouldn't have gone down the same way, let's say that. Assuming these are the darker counterparts and no middle ground, no compromise could have been reached even if Barry Allen had said, yes, you can have the Speed Force. I mean, I can't sit here and say, yeah, if he had gotten the Speed Force willingly, everything would have been hunky-dory. This is still the dark multiverse. Bad shit has to happen. It's kind of the point of it. But I'm still sitting here kind of like, this particular one conflicts me. This one, I get the viewpoint of both the Flash, but I think I'm on the Red Death's, or before it was the Red Death, but Batman's side in this particular instance. Not saying the result was good because it was awful, it's horrible, this is dark multiverse. But you're basically between 2 evils in this particular situation, and I think I'm still on Batman's side in this one. I think it's 60-40 for me. I'm 60 on Batman, 40 on the Flash. Either way, guys, the review's gone on long enough for one, simple comic origin story. What do you guys think? And would you like me to review more of these? I'll probably do it anyways because I don't expect that many views on this. This is not a comic book channel normally. However, the Dark Knight's Metal series, it is incredible. It is amazing. It is something that has actually got me back into reading comic books, and I had to buy this. This cost me like $30. And I was like, nope, gotta buy it. I wanted to buy it. Because instead of buying 2 more manga volumes for $11 each, I spent $30 on this bad boy. Because the concept and the idea is so... It's original in such an odd sense. It reminds me of the end season of the 90s Spider-Man when we had all the Spider-Man from all the alternate realities teaming up to battle the evil incarnation that went rogue. This is the similar idea, but it's done so rated M for mature that I'm just like, this is original. This is something new and fresh and exciting for me to read about and understand and be like, what's going to happen? You know, this is what we've all talked about. Batman, if Batman went evil, what would happen? They always do the Batman or Superman going evil. But if if multiple Batmans were to team up, even in a good sense, I mean, that would just be devastating. This is just so cool, guys. I cannot sell this to you enough. Either way, I'm done for this particular video. The next one, I believe, is the Drowned. Yeah, is it the Drowned? It potentially is the Drowned. The Red Death. No, I believe it's Murder Machine. We'll be doing Murder Machine. So, Murder Machine is a cybernetic version, helped by Cyborg version of Bruce Wayne or Batman. It's a version that, to me, this is one of my least favorite of the evil Batmans, or the Dark Knight's Metal. But for me, it's still something necessary. It's still something that adds a different element to it. This is a little bit of a far-fetched one, but I'll be reviewing them in order of this. Now, I don't know if that was the release order of the particular comics or not, but either way, it started with Red Death, and now we're going on to, even though they're listed much differently here on the back, the next one is actually Murder Machine, not the Drowned. So, and that's Batwoman. So we'll get to her eventually. Either way, guys, thank you guys so much for watching. This has been the review of the Red Death origin story comic of the Dark Knight's Metal series. I hope to review all of these. And guys, if you like me reviewing comics a little more, if you want me to talk about the history of comics, I do have a lot of comics. I have the start of the original Venom miniseries. I have Spider-Man 2099. I have the original Spider-Ben series. I have a lot of different comics, and I bought significant ones during this time. So if you guys like me talking about superheroes, talking about comics away from the MCU and the movies, and would like me to talk more about this stuff, please leave a comment down below. Hit like, hit subscribe. It's always appreciated, and we'll see you back here next time, guys. This has been Griever with the Dark Knight's Metal review of the Red Death origin story. Thanks, guys, for watching. We'll see you next time.